I'm John Borowski, and you're on the hook. In this episode, we're going to be talking about a piece of non-consensual towing that's done under the public authority called police towing. Something important I want to talk to you about today. I should have brought it up many times before, but sometimes you don't think about everything it should do every day, and this happens to be my big one that I should have told you much sooner. But I have had the opportunity to be able to travel this country and to understand a lot of different cities and municipalities, whatever, as to how they operate, how their contracts work, what their needs are. And one of the latest things that has been coming up on a regular basis, and some of you already know this because it's happening to you, but the city or the authority wants you to not charge for returning a stolen motor vehicle to the rightful owner, because they say it furthers the victim. It further burdens the victim, And all this really is, just so you really understand what's happening here, it is the city councils usually that wants to take and not charge the public to, in fact, gain their vote. Now, this happens everywhere, and I've had to deal with something similar to my city regarding snow towing. And, they were trying to give away so much time storage. They already regulate now how much you can charge for that snow tow, further than what the Department of Public Utilities actually decided to do in the beginning. But now what it is you can't charge anything extra, whereas in fact, we all know that's a much harder job to do. But back to the stolen car thing. So what's really happening here is they want to get the votes. They want to be the do-gooder for the public. And, I don't know how to break their hearts here, but, when you do a municipal tow, for the most part, the insurance company covers the real victims, the ones that are in a crash, that had their car damaged or totaled or whatever, and the insurance company picks that up. Now, if they opted to not pick up that portion of their policy to cover them for it, well, so be it. I mean, it is what it is. And all the other tows that are come under non-consensual are either breaking the law, unregistered, uninsured, unlicensed, not parking in a right area or in a extended in a parking area. They're all violations. So I ask you, why do we need to not charge them and have them become a bigger victim? So they'll go do it again? Because it doesn't work that way. It really doesn't. Now I'll tell you why they're stealing the cars. And this is the part that is really upsetting, and this is where you really need to take note and make sure that you pass on these 2 points that I'm going to give you when you try to stop your municipality or public authority from doing that to you. First of all, I can't name the city, but I'm going to tell you. There's drug dealers, there's people out there, drug users rather, that sell their car to the drug user for their fix, their drugs, their shipment, whatever they got, and they trade off their car for it. They go down the street and they report it stolen. So what happens? They end up getting the car back for nothing. As soon as the police locate it, and this guy knows where it is because he just left it up the street a couple blocks. So what it is, it's a tool for buying drugs. There's the first one, and that to me is heavy. The second one is even more alarming. So let me give you a scenario. Let's say you stopped on the way home from work today and you had a couple of beers and you start messing around on your phone while you're driving and you're weaving and you got enough in you to actually call you for a DUI. A police officer notices you weaving. He tries to pull you over, and you make a run for it because you know this. If I run and I can get away from this car and get mixed into a whole bunch of people, like going to a mall and running inside the mall inside, the police officer will never find you. So he'll simply tow the car. And guess what? You call up and say, gee, I went to the convenience store and I left it running and I came out and it was gone, keys and all. So it's a stolen car. You get it back for nothing. This is a practice that causes police chases. And this is the result of trying to give back the free tow to the lawbreakers, the people that did not decide to take on the additional insurance to cover their car, as they should. They put the minimum amounts on it just to get it on the road. And then the tow guy that has a $100,000 truck has to go out and tow it and pay his driver and all the wear and tear on the truck and the business. And it could be any time of the day. It could be 3 a.m. And they want it returned for nothing. And then the other thing that I was bringing up with you as far as for me, it was they wanted to give away a half a day of storage on that. Well, let me tell you, a snow tow for you that are not in a snowbelt area, those are, you're going to understand what I'm telling you. It's 3 times as much work to do a snow tow because half the time you got to dig it out. You end up with damage claims because there's things you can't see all the time, or you might improperly hook, or you think you got it and you don't. And the end result is there's a lot of damage claims. Your staff works 3 times as hard. Your equipment usually gets beat up. There are usually car claims for damage claims, rather. And they want you to discount it. And for what? Let's see now. The city hired 30 snowplows, and they're out there getting paid by the hour. And when you don't move your car, they have to sit there and wait. Start adding up all the people that are there, the police officer, the snowplow, and then the tow guy, and you want them to do it for nothing. Or free storage. And for a fraction of the cost of what the tow should really be. The whole situation is ridiculous. And I don't believe, for the most part, that towers are expressing their concerns about this. And I know there's many that don't even understand the 2 valuable points I just told you about the drug dealing and the chasing of the vehicles. But that is happening. That is a fact. And I've had 2 different cities now that I worked in that had those issues. And I know it's popping up elsewhere because I have seen a lot of new proposals, RFPs out there for cities and towns, and they're still trying to do that. They don't get it. I don't know that anybody's ever told them that. But I can tell you this. If I was on a contract somewhere, I would never allow them to do that. I'd be in front of the media cameras telling the normal audience out there that watches the evening news why this is happening. And I think they'll all agree with me. The ones that are abiding by the law are the ones that should be protected. And unfortunately, at this time in this country, things are a lot different. You know, especially now that call volumes are down for municipalities. And the reason being there was that as we went through the pandemic, the police chiefs pretty much told and passed down information to their officers to try and avoid any kind of contact, to overlook the minor infractions because, well, you know, you just can't take that chance because of the pandemic. Well, that's well behind us now. We're a full 4 years behind us. Well, no, I should say actually 3 whole years. No, it's 4 years. It's 4 years. It's 4 years behind us now since they first came out, and we found out that all of that was for nothing. The masks were for nothing. The separation was for nothing. I don't know. To me, it was nothing more than a tough flu, and that's exactly what it was. But in any event, neither here nor there. Your opinion is your opinion on that, but my concern is what happens to the towers. These call volumes go down. Now you've got people breaking the law more and more, and the police officers, there's still a lot of them are still lackadaisical and they're not towing the vehicles that they should be towing. So as an end result, your city or town is pretty much going to be putting a burden on the towers that are trying to keep the roads clear, to keep your officers safe. It doesn't make any sense. You guys need to start speaking up to your cities and towns. You really do. These call volume decreases are hurting substantially because when you have to, there's nobody that knows exactly how many calls they're going to get next year when they do municipal towing. And I know because I was the largest municipality tower in the Northeast. So I know it's very, very hard to be prepared. The only thing you can do is just do the best judgment that you can as far as weather, past history on holidays, certain events. That's all you can do. And when you get decreases like this, you got to start laying off. You got to start selling off equipment. Things start picking up again. Now what do? You're going to have some issues. Then we have to talk about the insurance companies and their payment issues. I've been involved in police order towing now for many, many years. I didn't count them yet, but it's close to 50 years. And it's always been a struggle with the insurance companies. They're always trying to beat up the towers. First of all, I will say lots of times the towers are their own worst victim. You look at their bill and it's just a little tear-off invoice pad and total amount on the bottom. Some others will put a couple things on there. Nothing really that looks official have you. But if you go out and you have, I guess the best example that I can relate to you is that I got my cellar flooded one time. And the company that came in to dry it up and clean out and dry up the carpeting and replace anything that was damaged, they do their bill. And it's like, for this one item, it's 0.6 hours, 0.3 hours, and they have the hourly rate, and they give a full description. And then they give a full narrative, just like what we should be doing, or many of us are doing, but there's a lot that are not doing it, and that's why these insurance companies are playing these games, because they know they can get away with things. Next time you get a chance, go online and look up insurancejournal.com, and you're going to see where they're on there continually talking about different, what they call possible fraudulent charges, companies that might be charging too much or doing things improperly. And that's their medium. This is where all the insurance companies go to talk. And I'll tell you why I know. Because back 12 years ago, the state of Massachusetts got all their underwriters, all the adjusters, 105 of them in the state of Massachusetts. They got together to talk about myself and Bill Johnson about accident remediation. And they found out that we were right. And what the argument was, and obviously I want to share this with you, is that it should be paid under property damage. Because, well, at the end of the day, what is it? It's property damage. And why they don't want it to fall under there is because, as far as I know, in Massachusetts anyway, every car's got property damage on it. Every car. Because that insures the street light, the telephone pole, whatever else out there that you could possibly damage with your automobile, but it covers that. And in this case, you damaged the roadway. So it needs to be cleaned, it needs to be restored. And the responsibility on that, if you look up into all the environmental laws, the one that's really responsible for that mess that's there is the vehicle owner that caused it. Now, let's not get into the weeds and say, well, my car leaked, but I didn't cause the accident. That's not the way you look at it. If your car leaked, you're responsible. Whoever is at fault for the crash will happen and be determined by the insurance or a judge or whoever. But your car leaked, your car pays for it. So everybody has property damage. There should be no issue here. But they don't want to all of a sudden be paying that. They think that should be included with the tow bill. Well, how much more can you include on these tow bills? They want you to do accident remediation. They want you to do all this additional work. And trucks now are over $100,000 for light duty. How do you possibly absorb all that? You can't do it. And then you have to look at the leave behind rates. Now, in Massachusetts, we're very lucky that if we have a loss, the insurance companies will usually act on it fairly quick. If it's a third-party loss, there's a form that we have, and it's a direction to pay. And what that says is that the insurance company will pay the tow company for that vehicle before paying the vehicle owner for their loss. And they have to do it. If for some reason they pay the owner and they don't pay off the tow bill, well, they have to take and write that check once you make them aware of it. So if you don't have that in your state, you should get a direction to pay. And you need to get the insurance companies to start covering you under property damage. You can look at your policy coverages. Look it up. You caused a situation that can't be driven over on the roadway. It's got to be cleaned up. And it's hazardous. Not only hazardous to the groundwater, but it's hazardous to people walking. Have you ever seen what antifreeze does on blacktop? It makes it like ice. So can you picture a motorcycle coming down a road and going over that? You could have a real mess. And that, whatever happens in that crash, will come back on the tower because the responsibility comes back on the vehicle owner. But while the vehicle owner woke up this morning and decided to go to work, he didn't load into his trunk speedy dry buckets, brooms, shovels, all this stuff to be ready just in case he gets into an accident. Nobody anticipates getting into an accident. Unfortunately, that's why it's called an accident. Although today we call it a crash. But in any event, they weren't prepared for it. So when you get called to the scene to remove the vehicle, and that was something that was caused from the vehicle, you are now the person that's supposed to clean that up. That is now your responsibility. And if you leave it, all the problems come back on your back. It's not worth it. You need to clean it up and you need to charge accordingly. And it needs to be taken care of by the insurance company. But, as long as there's a lot of guys that just allow themselves to be taken over by the insurance companies, that's what happens. Myself and Bill Johnson, 105 adjusters, they went into that meeting. And to this day, they're paying those losses because we were right. They're the environmental laws. We didn't write them. You want to fight EPA, go right ahead, but those things have to be cleaned up. My biggest argument on that is let's go where that accident scene was and that stream that's running right up to the side of the road. Let's go get a glass of water and see if anybody wants to drink it, knowing that battery acid, transmission fluid, motor oil, gasoline is all on the ground over here leaching into your groundwater. I don't think anybody wants that. Nobody wants, like those poor people in Michigan. That's awful what happened to them there. And think about that for a minute, because it's not any different than this. And it needs to be taken care of. The towers need to understand the laws that they operate under so that they know how to better protect themselves from these insurance companies that are only trying to lower their losses for the year. But at the end of the day, don't feel too bad for the insurance companies because whatever they pay out this year, they're going to increase it next year because they have to stay profitable. Not like our towers. They'll just keep absorbing it and just allowing the insurance companies to beat them up. Look, in this world today, you need to take and set your rates and live by them. You don't discount them. You made those rates purposely so that you could be in a profitable mode with your company. And that's where you need to stay. You need to understand that. The final thing I wanted to touch on today was the dwindling amounts of vehicles that are being towed. You have less money coming in, then you have more vehicles being left behind, and now salvage companies are trying to continually beat you up as well. And I gotta hand it to them; they're pretty smart. They stick together on their pricing so that they can get prices across the board. The best way to combat that is to do online auctions. Those have been working very successfully. There's several of them out there. Look at them. There's at least a half a dozen out there that you should be looking at and understand the terms and conditions and what the results are. Look back at past auctions that they've done and see how the values are. And take into consideration the regions, because it does change regionally. But anyway, that's it for that. And I will continue on with more public authority towing in our next episode. But for today's sound thought, I want to remind you that we are now into October, and we are 1 month now. It's next month that we're going to Baltimore, the greatest tow show in the world. There's going to be 12,000 people there. Now I know we've been a little bit light on some of the activities out there, and actually, I shouldn't say so much light. The attendance has been not bad at all. Matter of fact, it's probably close to the numbers we did have, but they're new faces. And now I don't know if it's people have never been before and have been around for a while, or if it's new players within the industry. In any event, come to Baltimore. You're going to be hearing all these things I talk about in the American Towman Academy, all these things to make you a better businessman, to put more money in your pocket, to attract more drivers, to retain drivers instead of this being a stepping stone job and turning it into a career. Because now it is an industry. And remember, it's a very young industry. We always say that. You have to understand, it really truly is a young industry. It's probably not much more than 25 years old right now. So it's still, for the amount of time it's actually been an industry, it's actually coming along pretty good. It was even tougher before when it was an ancillary service. But we need to start reacting to these concerns of these major issues. Public authority towing, to me, deserves the highest amount of rates because, well, this is exactly why these police officers want to get these cars off the road, because they become a target they have a target on their back. So until the next time, be safe out there. Everyone goes home tonight. Believe me when I tell you, your family needs you more than ever. Things are, I can't say a little crazy anymore. It's just out like nuts out there. And we have to turn this fad. We have to get beyond this. And we got to get back to normal business and living the normal lives that we know. So with that, be safe out there. I look forward to seeing you next month and then see you at Baltimore.
The best YouTube channel on the planet. On the Hook with Mr. Industry. If you have a topic that needs to be covered, send an email. Be sure to subscribe and share with others.